All right, so today we're diving into a world where charisma and controversy, well, they kind of collide,
Yeah.
You've all sent us tons of info on Hunter Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Legal documents, news articles, political analysis, all that.
Right.
It really does paint this complex picture of him.
It does.
Feels like every time I turn around, there's another headline about his business ventures or his legal troubles.
Yeah.
And of course, the unavoidable connection to his dad, President Biden.
Right. That's a big part of it.
It feels inescapable.
It does, yeah.
I think what's so fascinating about this whole story is how it really taps into our fascination with power, ambition, and influence.
Yeah.
Is Hunter Biden a shrewd operator just capitalizing on his family name?
Right.
Or is there something more to it?
Hmm.
Is he genuinely gifted? Or are we seeing some masterclass in grifting?
Right. Is he a grifter or is he gifted?
Yeah. That's exactly what we're going to try to unpack today.
Exactly.
To really crack this case, we've got to lay out all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a meticulously detailed timeline from ABC News.
Okay.
It covers everything from his early career moves to his recent legal troubles.
Okay.
I think a good starting point is examining those early career moves, particularly the ones that have attracted the most scrutiny.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, if you look at what congressional Republicans have really zeroed in on, it's his work with Burisma,
Right.
a Ukrainian energy company,
Right.
and his involvement with certain Chinese businesses.
Right.
They're raising really serious questions about potential influence peddling.
Mm-hmm.
But, the big question is, have they actually uncovered any concrete evidence to support those claims?
Right. That's what makes things so interesting here.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't ignore the elephant in the room,
Mm-hmm.
or should I say the laptop from hell, right?
Right.
This thing supposedly surfaced just weeks before the 2020 election.
Right.
Allegedly, it contains emails and files detailing Hunter's business dealings.
Yeah.
And it's become, well, it's a huge point of contention.
Huge, yeah.
What do you make of this whole laptop situation?
Oh, man, this laptop, it's like throwing a wrench into everything.
Uh-huh.
Some people, like the computer repairman who claims to have this laptop,
Right.
they argue that it raises serious questions about President Biden's knowledge of all this and his possible involvement in his son's activities, but others just dismiss it.
Yeah.
They say it's a politically motivated fabrication, possibly even Russian disinformation. It really is. It's like we're trying to decipher a code, but we're missing half the letters.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think the timing of its appearance right before that crucial election.
Of course.
It definitely adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it?
It does.
Makes you wonder, was this strategic or just a bizarre coincidence?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say. And, that's why this story is so captivating.
Because it forces us to really confront the challenges of separating fact from fiction, especially in today's world, which is hyper-partisan and where information warfare is just rampant.
Yeah. It's crazy. It feels like you can't trust anything.
I know.
We should also consider the personal turmoil in Hunter's life during all of this.
Yeah.
Court documents from his 2020 child support case in Arkansas reveal that a third party actually covered his back taxes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we also know he's been open about his struggles with substance abuse, which, from what we understand, it intensified after the tragic death of his brother Beau Biden in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we need to be really cautious about drawing those simplistic conclusions. It's tempting to view every action through the lens of potential wrongdoing.
Right.
But it's crucial to acknowledge the human element here, right? Could these struggles, these very real struggles,
have actually impacted Hunter's judgment and his actions?
Right.
It's a question worth pondering, for sure.
It is. It is. Then, in June of 2023, things kind of escalated. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy subpoenaed Devin Archer, Hunter's longtime business associate.
Right, who also served on the board of Burisma with him.
Exactly.
Yes.
What did you make of Archer's testimony?
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
His testimony before the House Oversight Committee, it adds a whole other layer to the story. He confirmed that he put Joe Biden on speakerphone during these business meetings. Over 20 times.
Wow.
But he insists that the president never once spoke about any business dealings.
Now, that detail really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Why involve your father, the then vice president,
Right.
in these calls if business wasn't on the agenda?
Yeah.
It seems so counterintuitive.
It really does.
I don't get it.
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
It really does raise eyebrows. However, Archer maintained that all these calls were purely personal.
Okay.
Exchanging pleasantries,
Right.
discussing the weather, just typical father-son stuff.
Right.
Now, it's a claim that is difficult to verify, but it does introduce a layer of ambiguity to the situation.
It does. It does. Then just a few days later, June 26, 2023, McCarthy announces on Fox News that he was launching impeachment inquiries into Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Wow.
Based on whistleblower claims surrounding the IRS investigation into Hunter Biden.
Right. This is where we see the political machinery really kicking into gear. Republicans have long viewed this whole Hunter Biden story as a potential vulnerability for President Biden. And these impeachment inquiries, well, they signal a much more aggressive approach to leveraging this weakness.
Okay, so break down these whistleblower claims for us.
So essentially, these whistleblowers...
They're IRS agents.
Okay.
And they allege that the Justice Department interfered with their investigation into Hunter, suggesting that he received preferential treatment because of his father's position.
That's a big claim.
Yeah, it is.
What's the Justice Department saying?
Well, Attorney General Merrick Garland has just denied these claims outright, emphasizing that U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who was appointed by Trump, by the way, has full authority to make charging decisions in the case.
So it's a he said, she said situation.
It is, completely.
With both sides giving us different stories.
Yeah.
How can we figure out what's true?
It's really tough. That's the challenge with these politically charged situations.
Yeah.
It's incredibly difficult to separate genuine concerns from just partisan maneuvering.
Right.
We need to be so careful about jumping to conclusions and instead focus on analyzing the evidence or the lack thereof with a critical and discerning eye. Good advice. Good advice. Then the following month, July 2023, Hunter sent a cease and desist letter to Trump's legal team.
Interesting.
Arguing that Trump's aggressive rhetoric about him on social media could incite violence and endanger him and his family.
That's a big statement.
It is. It is.
So this shows a real shift in Hunter's stance.
Yeah.
He's clearly feeling the pressure of this relentless scrutiny, and he's taking steps to protect himself and his family from what he sees as dangerous and baseless attacks.
Right. Then things escalated even further in September when Hunter filed a lawsuit against the IRS.
Oh, wow.
Alleging unlawful disclosures made by those whistleblowers.
Okay.
He also tried to avoid a personal appearance at his arraignment on federal gun charges.
So these moves, they indicate that Hunter's taking a more combative approach now. He's challenging these accusations head on and pushing back against the legal proceeding.
Yeah.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
And it suggests that he's ready to fight for his reputation and his freedom.
But on the same day that he filed that lawsuit, a judge denied his request to skip that in-person arraignment.
Oh, wow.
For the gun charges.
Yeah.
As if that wasn't enough, Attorney General Merrick Garland found himself in the hot seat, testifying before the House Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
Where he faced intense grilling from GOP lawmakers.
Yeah.
About his department's handling of the Hunter Biden investigation.
Yeah, but Garland, he remains steadfast in his assertion that the Justice Department operates independently of Congress and is committed to following the facts and upholding the law regardless of the political pressure.
Then just last week, on November 26th, during his annual oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Garland again reiterated that U.S. Attorney David Weiss has full authority to make any charging decisions.
Right.
Related to the Hunter Biden investigation. It seems like a very deliberate attempt to quell these persistent allegations of interference from the Justice Department, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? It reads as a strategic move, for sure. Aimed at, bolstering public confidence in the integrity of the investigation and pushing back against claims of political bias.
Right, good.
It remains to be seen, though, whether this will be enough to satisfy those who still believe that Hunter Biden received special treatment.
So we've seen accusations flying from both sides.
Yes.
But have we actually seen any evidence to support these claims of wrongdoing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Despite the intense scrutiny and all these investigations,
Yeah.
no irrefutable proof of criminal activity has emerged. Now, this doesn't mean that Hunter's innocent.
Right.
But it highlights how important it is
Yeah.
to distinguish between just allegations and proven facts.
Yeah. It's a good distinction.
Yeah.
So with all this conflicting information, how do we even begin to assess whether Hunter Biden is a savvy businessman or a grifter?
I think we got to look beyond the headlines and the partisan rhetoric.
Right.
And really examine the evidence with a critical lens. What patterns emerge from his business dealings?
Yeah.
What motivates his actions?
Yeah.
These are the questions that I think will guide us as we delve deeper into this labyrinthine world of Hunter Biden.
It's a fascinating world.
It is.
It's complicated.
It is, very much so.
It's a bit of a mess.
A bit of a mess, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about how Hunter Biden's life and career have been under this intense scrutiny with all these allegations of shady business dealings and influence peddling just swirling around him.
Right.
But let's actually unpack some of these accusations.
Okay.
Starting with that infamous laptop from hell.
Yeah.
This is where things get particularly murky. Okay. The laptop, allegedly abandoned at a repair shop, supposedly contains emails and files detailing Hunter's business activities, including his ventures in Ukraine and China.
Right. And all this was happening while his father was serving as vice president.
Exactly.
That's what makes this so politically charged.
Precisely. And the timing of the laptop's emergence, mere weeks before the 2020 election, raises those immediate suspicions of a calculated smear campaign.
For sure.
It begs the question, was this a genuine discovery?
Right.
Or a meticulously orchestrated leak designed to influence the outcome of the election?
Did anyone actually verify the authenticity of the laptop and its contents?
Right.
It feels like we've been bombarded with these conflicting claims and denials.
That's been the crux of the debate.
Yeah.
The New York Post, which initially broke the story, claimed to have verified the material.
Okay.
However, many other media outlets express skepticism.
Right.
And social media giants like Facebook and Twitter even restricted the story's spread.
Wow.
Citing concerns about potential disinformation.
So they were being cautious.
Very cautious. And this cautious approach only fueled accusations of a cover-up.
Oh, wow.
With conservatives accusing the media and big tech of suppressing information damaging to the Bidens.
So it really backfired.
It really did. It kind of created this, like, chilling effect.
Yeah.
Where everyone's kind of walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Afraid of getting caught in the crossfire.
So where did the Bidens stand amidst all of this?
Yeah.
How do they address this whole laptop controversy?
Well, initially, the Biden campaign just dismissed the story as Russian disinformation.
Okay.
Which is, you know, a tactic often employed to discredit political opponents.
Sure.
However, Hunter Biden has recently shifted his stance, acknowledging ownership of the laptop and even filing a lawsuit against the computer repair shop owner and others involved, claiming invasion of privacy.
So he's kind of trying to control the narrative now.
It seems that way.
Saying, yes, it's my laptop, but you had no right to access and spread my personal information.
Right.
It's risky, though.
It is.
Because it draws more attention to the laptop's contents.
It's a high-stakes gamble, for sure.
It is.
He's essentially betting that the potential benefits of controlling the narrative and potentially securing financial compensation for damages outweigh the risks of further scrutiny.
Let's get to the heart of the matter, though.
Yeah.
Did the laptop actually reveal any illegal or unethical activity?
Well, even if we assume the laptop and its contents are authentic, interpreting the significance of those emails and files is complicated.
Yeah.
Some experts argue that while the emails might be embarrassing or raise ethical questions, they don't actually provide definitive proof of illegal activity.
So it's possible that he was leveraging his family name.
Possible, yeah.
To open doors and secure business deals, even if it wasn't the most ethical approach.
That's a plausible interpretation.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for individuals with prominent family connections to utilize those connections for personal gain.
Okay.
The question is, where do we draw the line between savvy networking and inappropriate influence peddling?
And that line becomes even blurrier when you're dealing with foreign governments and potentially influencing U.S. policy.
Absolutely.
That's what congressional Republicans are trying to figure out.
They are.
They're alleging that Hunter's business dealings with Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company, and his ties to Chinese firms created a conflict of interest for his father while he was vice president.
They're arguing that these dealings weren't just ethically questionable, but potentially compromised national interests.
But have they found any solid evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden himself?
So far, the investigations haven't yielded any smoking gun.
Okay.
Even Devin Archer, Hunter's longtime business partner, testified that Joe Biden never discussed business matters during their frequent phone calls.
Okay, so nothing concrete.
Not yet, at least. Of course, this doesn't entirely eliminate the possibility of more subtle forms of influence, but it does highlight the difficulty of proving a direct link between Hunter's actions and his father's official duties.
Some Democrats have dismissed this whole saga as a nothing burger, a politically motivated witch hunt. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's premature to draw definitive conclusions.
Okay.
While the current evidence might not be enough to prove criminal wrongdoing, the investigations are ongoing, and new information could surface.
We spent a lot of time on the laptop. What about some of the other allegations surrounding Hunter Biden? Like, there's the issue of the $5.4 million rent payment. From a Chinese state-owned bank to Trump Tower shortly after Donald Trump left the White House.
That's another example of a business dealing that raises significant questions and has become a focal point for scrutiny.
Okay.
Representative James Comer, the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, has pointed to this payment as potential evidence of a conflict of interest. Suggesting that the Chinese government might have been attempting to gain favor with the Biden family.
So we're venturing into this tangled web of international finance and political maneuvering. But again, has there been any hard evidence of wrongdoing?
As with many aspects of this story, the evidence remains circumstantial. It raises red flags and warrants further investigation, but it doesn't definitively prove illegal activity.
It seems like Hunter Biden has consistently operated in this gray area.
He has.
Navigating this delicate balance between leveraging connections and potentially crossing ethical boundaries.
Absolutely, and that's what makes his story so compelling and controversial. It compels us to examine the role of family ties in politics. The boundaries of influence and the often blurred lines between ambition and ethical conduct.
This story feels far from over.
It does, doesn't it? The investigations are ongoing. The legal battles continue. And the political fallout will likely reverberate for years to come.
While we're on the topic of presidential families and scrutiny, is this level of attention on a president's child unprecedented?
That's a great question.
History's
filled with examples of presidents' children finding themselves in the middle of controversy. Well, Billy Carter, Jimmy Carter's brother, sparked investigations because of his financial dealings with Libya.
Oh, wow.
Neil Bush, son of George H.W. Bush, faced legal action for his role in a savings and loan association collapse. So these cases demonstrate that family and politics, they don't always mix well.
It's fraught with ethical complexities.
It is, and of course, we can't forget about the Trump family.
Of course not, no.
From Ivanka Trump's trademarks in China, while her father was negotiating trade deals, to Jared Kushner's investment firm receiving millions from Saudi Arabia after the Trump presidency. Accusations of conflicts of interest have been rampant.
It seems like no one is immune.
I think that's right. The line between utilizing connections for personal gain and engaging in outright corruption is often blurry and subject to interpretation.
So where do you draw the line? What distinguishes savvy business maneuvering from inappropriate influence peddling?
It's a complex question that demands a careful assessment of the context, the intent, and the potential consequences. In Hunter Biden's case, the absence of concrete evidence of a quid pro quo arrangement makes it challenging to definitively label his actions as corrupt. However, the optics of his business activities, particularly in Ukraine and China, raise those legitimate ethical concerns.
And those optics have been strategically exploited by his father's political adversaries.
Undoubtedly, the Hunter Biden saga has become a political weapon,
Yeah.
wielded by both sides to score points and advance their agendas.
It's disheartening that the partisan battle overshadows the larger questions about transparency and accountability that this situation raises.
I agree. This should be an opportunity for a national conversation about the ethical standards we expect from our leaders and their families.
It's a conversation we need to have.
We do. Unfortunately, it's devolved into a partisan tug of war.
So as we delve deeper into this complex narrative, how can we, as engaged citizens, navigate this deluge of information?
That's the essential question, isn't it?
It is.
We need to develop our own internal compass, one that guides us through the maze of conflicting narratives and allows us to assess evidence with a critical eye.
So what questions should we be asking ourselves?
Right. Ask yourself, what motivates Hunter Biden? Is it ambition, greed, a desire to help his family, or perhaps a combination of these factors?
Right.
Examining his actions through multiple lenses can help us gain a more nuanced understanding of his story.
It's a fascinating challenge trying to decipher the motives and intentions behind the actions of someone who's operated in such a high-stakes, high-profile environment.
It is. We're essentially trying to understand the human element within a complex web of political and financial intrigue.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as we proceed, we need to be mindful of our own biases and preconceived notions.
Right.
We must strive for objectivity, even when confronted with information that confirms or challenges our existing viewpoints.
You know, it's fascinating to think about Hunter Biden's story as a case study almost.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how in a world where charisma and controversy are so intertwined, how can we differentiate a visionary from a con artist?
Right.
How do we separate genuine talent from calculated manipulation?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a question that's plagued humanity for centuries.
It really has.
You think about some of history's most notorious figures, charismatic leaders, who rose to power on a wave of popular support, only to be later exposed as ruthless dictators or skilled manipulators.
Yeah.
That line between inspiration and deception, it can be incredibly thin.
It makes you question everything you see and hear.
It does.
So how do we develop that critical lens, that ability to see through the smoke and mirrors?
I think it starts with cultivating a healthy skepticism.
Okay.
We need to be wary of individuals who promise easy solutions or present themselves as saviors.
Right.
You got to look beyond the surface charm, examine their actions, their track record, and the consistency of their message.
So essentially, do their words align with their deeds?
Exactly. Are they genuinely committed to a cause, or are they primarily driven by self-interest? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves when evaluating any individual.
Especially those seeking positions of power or influence.
Exactly. Yeah.
So going back to Hunter Biden, where does he fall on this spectrum?
Right.
Is he a master manipulator?
Yeah.
A victim of circumstance? Or is he something in between?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
Right.
His story is this complex tapestry of ambition, privilege, personal struggles, and political maneuvering.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's all there, and it's tempting to categorize him as either a villain or a victim.
Right, you want to put him in a box.
You do, but the reality is likely much more nuanced than that.
It's almost like we're trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces.
That's a great way to put it.
We have these glimpses into his life, these snippets of information.
Yeah.
But the full picture remains elusive.
I think that's the nature of these types of stories. We may never have all the answers.
Right.
But the process of seeking understanding, examining the evidence, engaging in thoughtful discussion is crucial.
I think that's really well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into Hunter Biden's world, what are some key takeaways? What insights can we glean from this intricate saga that might help us navigate a world where charisma and controversy collide?
Well, I think first and foremost, this story underscores the importance of critical thinking.
Yeah.
You know, we live in an age of information overload where narratives are constantly being spun and reshaped.
Right, right.
It's our responsibility to engage with information thoughtfully, to question assumptions, and to seek out multiple perspectives.
It's a reminder that things are rarely black and white.
Right. Yeah.
There's often a lot of gray area, and the truth can be so elusive.
Absolutely. And this story also highlights the challenges of balancing privacy and accountability when it comes to the families of those in power.
Yeah.
While we have a right to scrutinize the actions of our leaders,
Right.
it's essential to avoid unfairly targeting their family members.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And one that we, as a society, need to continue grappling with.
I agree. I also think the Hunter Biden saga, for all its complexities and controversies, offers a valuable lesson in media literacy. It reminds us to be discerning consumers of information, to be wary of sensationalism and bias, and to approach these types of stories with a healthy dose of skepticism.
So it's a call to action, really.
It is.
Urging us to engage in thoughtful discourse, to challenge easy answers, and to hold our leaders accountable, while also respecting the boundaries of personal lives.
Well said.
It's been an insightful journey exploring Hunter Biden's world.
It has.
A world where ambition and controversy intersects.
Yeah.
Where perceptions are constantly shifting. And where that line between grifter and gifted remains blurred.
It does.
As we conclude this deep dive, the question lingers. Is Hunter Biden a shrewd operator who has expertly navigated the corridors of power?
Yeah.
Or is he simply a man caught in the crosshairs of circumstance, grappling with personal demons, and the weight of a powerful family legacy?
Yeah.
Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between.
I think you're right.
A testament to the complexities of human nature.
Yes.
And the enduring allure of power and influence.
Well said.